Welcome back to the Tailosive Movie Review. I am Model Y Mike, or just Mike in this podcast. Not too sure how you guys want to call me by
Your
name,
movie
but
Mike.
I am joined by the great, the one, the only, the Cube guy.
Oh,
Nick
man,
Answini.
is this gonna follow me around for the rest of my life? Yes, I made a cube. Dude, what the heck? I am like kind of freaked out, and not in a good way. Like, that video blew up in my face, and I'm just sitting here like, all right, now I have a monetized channel and like a bunch of people who probably want more of these videos, and now what?
Dude, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, do we call you Nick Cube?
Ooh,
Nick Cube
I need a nickname, just like you got a nickname. Okay, I can do this. I don't know if Nick Cubed is the right one, but we'll definitely have to think of one that is as annoying as Y Mike or Model Y Mike. So we need to get that good amount. I mean, I want to be Cybertruck Nick, but I'm not the guy with the Cybertruck at the moment.
I think I might beat you to the Cybertruck, but this isn't the Tailosive Movie
No,
podcast.
it isn't.
This
It's also
is
not the tech.
Tailosive Movie
It's
Review
also not the
podcast.
tech podcast. What is this?
It's not that either, but what are we reviewing today, Nick? I guess we kind of teased it, maybe not last week, but the week before.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what we're reviewing today, because I don't know what we call what we just watched there. Yeah. We were reviewing The Wolverine from 2013. Evidently, if you search The Wolverine 2013 on iTunes, you get a result that is... what was that? It was like some other random movie.
I think it's called The Prisoners or something.
The Prisoners, yeah. The Prisoners. But it looked like it had the dude, the bad guy from the last movie. And so I was like, oh, is this that one? It was the guy with the metal. What was his thing? Metalton? Magneto. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like, oh, this is the same movie. And I was like, Prisoners, this doesn't look right. I was like, Mike, what movie are we watching again? Last night at the 11th hour. Mike was like, oh yeah, it's actually The Wolverine, released in 2013. So, confusing movie title. Yeah, I guess I'll rate this out of 8 since you started. I get to start the rating first. That's how this goes. I'm going to say 2 out of 8.
The unsung rule.
I'm going to say 2 out of 8.
2 out of 8?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I said this was going to be different than all the other movies I've reviewed. All the other movies I've reviewed, I didn't regret watching them. I regret watching this one.
I find it interesting that you rank this, I think, lower than Origins, which I'm very surprised by.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll get into the reasons why in a minute.
This is considered like an okay one, but okay. Yeah, out of 8, I would say I'd probably put this out of 5.
Okay.
I enjoyed this movie when it came out in theaters. I think did I watch this with my mom? I'm not too sure. She's a big fan of Hugh Jackman, by the way.
Huge Jackman.
Whenever we talk about X-Men, huge Jackman. Are you kidding me? Wow, yeah, 5 out of 8 is what I'd give it. I guess a quick overview of my thoughts. Beautiful scenery.
Yes.
Beautiful story. Stands on its own, but also has a lot of things kind of filling into it as well. So you kind of get confused by who is what, why is this random red-haired lady keep on coming back and haunting Logan, and all of that. But I guess let's start out with you, Nick. What made you choose 2 out of 8 for this movie?
I hate movies that cannot get to the darn point. Like, my attention span is that of a tweet. 280 characters. I appreciate longer stories when they have stuff going on, but I just felt like this movie dragged on for like an hour and a half in the middle to the climax town. Like, we had like 2 boss fights before we got to the actual boss fight. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, I know that he has to fight the lady with the weird tongue at some point, so he's not going to die on the operating table with his heart. Oh, okay, I know that he needs to fight the lady with the tongue, so he's not going to die when the samurai dude and him are going at it. Oh, okay, I know he needs to fight the lady with the green tongue, so he's not going to die from the ninjas. And it's just like I really did not like the third act of the movie. The first act was okay, the second act was, and the third act was trash. So, I'm sorry, I did not like it. Also, I should say, I am not a fan of blood and gore, and maybe I should have known getting into this, because I did see like a few minutes of Logan back in the day, That this franchise is going to put me out of my comfort zone, which I'm fine with. I'm not like queasy or whatever, but like I just do. If given the choice of like watching Wall-E, artistic perfection, or like Hugh Jackman pull bugs out of his heart, like obviously Wall-E. So it's not really my style. The pacing felt really off. I do love Japan though. This is like the first movie that I remember watching where like most of it takes place in Japan, and I've never been to Japan. I cannot wait to get there one day. But it felt very authentic. Like it didn't. A lot of movies sometimes when they are saying, you know, oh, now we're in the UK or whatever, but they're really in some studio lot behind in Hollywood, and it doesn't feel real. I don't know where this one was filmed, so it could have been filmed in Hollywood for all I know. But this felt like it was filmed on location in Japan, and I just love the Japanese culture, just the cleanliness and the minimalism, and just everything that goes in. I was digging that part of the movie. But yeah, the other stuff was stuff I couldn't overlook.
I think you made a great point with the whole Japanese immersion. That's what I love so much about this movie. I forgot how much Japanese they speak in it.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're trying to throw it in your face. Like, there's quite literally times where, at least one that I remember is where, oh goodness, I forgot her name already. It's only been like a few days since I've watched it. Mariko and...
Boy, I better pull up the IMDb.
Oh my goodness. It's Mariko and Yukio. They're kind of like half sisters in this.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yukio kind of got picked up on the street, but there's a part where like they're just talking in Japanese, and it makes sense because that's their native tongue. And then Logan's kind of just watching like, what's going on? And then Mariko's like, who's the caveman? But in Japanese.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's very much, it's a realistic like conversation. It's not, it doesn't feel very forced, right? You have this character in grieving over her grandpa dying, who she loves and cares about and is very similar to, at least in the good ways.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the bad ways, but very much in the good ways. And then you kind of have like this sisterly bond that she has with Yukio, and it's very much like a consoling moment that Yukio's trying to provide. And you just have Logan the caveman sitting here like, am I going to say goodbye to this old man and go back to my cave?
No, get naked in front of two old ladies and let them scrub you with a brush. No thanks.
That's some of the comedy in this as well. I think the comedy in this is fantastic because it's a very serious movie. I mean, even from like not the trailer, well, maybe the trailer, but at least like the poster kind of for it, it's very much black and white or grays, and you don't have too much brightness in that manner. But you get moments in this movie that are pretty hilarious, where it's kind of like the washing scene where Hugh Jackman, or I guess Logan, is getting washed by excuse me, I have something in my throat. He's getting washed by two old ladies, and it's just a funny moment of Wolverine, who's this ultra powerful healing factor mutant who can slice up anything into pieces, and he's just getting abused by some old ladies. And then brushes. You have with brushes. And then I guess another one that made me laugh, I think either in the theater or at home, is when he throws Noburo out the window
of the train,
or off the Noburo is Miriko's beloved, or
yeah. The
spouse yet.
The dude doing the bachelor party with the two hookers. Yeah,
not even bachelor party, because he's kind of just saying I'm an ultra powerful city council member or whatever. I can do whatever I want. It's just like, dude, you're some city council member. What are you doing? And then it just gets thrown off the balcony, and then Yukio's just like, how'd you know that there's a pool down there?
Yes,
like, I didn't.
That was pretty
oh,
funny.
Jeez. But there's moments like that I enjoy in this movie. But yeah, you share the same point of view as my wife, because she watched it with me as well. I guess, to be fair, here's a gauge for me as well. I actually fall asleep around 2/3 of the way through the movie every time I watch this. I don't know why. Like, I told myself when I watched it, like, I'm not going to fall asleep 2/3 of the way through the movie. I fall asleep anyways. And then I think the last time or the time before when I watched the movie, I also fell asleep 2/3 of the way through the movie. I don't know why my body does this. I don't maybe it's a sign that, yeah, your rating is kind of fair in terms of first act is very interesting, second act is kind of here and there, kind of all over the place, and then third act you're just like, when are we getting to the end of this thing?
Yes.
It's a huge epic kind of wrapped up into.
It kind of felt like a trilogy,
how many
honestly.
minutes.
Like it felt like a trilogy was trying to be fit into just one movie, or maybe like a two-ilogy.
Toology. I think that's a duology.
As long as we're not doing eulogies, we should be okay. Which, by the way, is something that they did in this movie. And might I say, Nick, watching alone in his bedroom in the middle of the night on his iPad, called it long before it happened in the time that I was watching it. I knew the old guy did not die. I knew that. As soon as he was like, it can be shared, your power can be transferred. And then the creepy tongue lady was like sticking green juice in him or something. I was like, oh,
Viper.
He's totally going to come back. Like, this guy is not the good guy here. Like, he is obsessed with this, and you could just see it. Anyway, I felt pretty redeemed when they had the huge reveal that the unobtainium ninja, the samurai thing.
Adamantium.
Unobtainium, whatever. I hate these dumb names.
Adamantium. It's like the vibranium.
Yeah, it's just unobtainium. That's what I'm calling it. Vibranium, whatever. It's just unobtainium. That's what we're calling it. The dumb metal that
was kind of the funny plot twist kind of near the third act is there's a giant robotic samurai. What?
It's like,
and then it turns out he's not really robotic. He's more of a suit, but still.
Iron Man much? As soon as I saw the designs on the floor, I think... was it Yu-Gi-Oh or Markio? I couldn't tell the two apart. I wasn't.
The red hair or the black
red-haired girl. She was...
That's Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, she was looking at the floor and it had the designs for like a gauntlet thing. And I was like, oh no, it's an Iron Man knockoff. Here we go. Gonna be some powerful exoskeleton suit or something. Or I didn't think... I thought like a robot or something. But yeah, that I don't know. I didn't mind the whole setup of it started obviously World War II right outside of Nagasaki. Logan,
very dark moment. World history.
Like, oh wow, like I like that. Like that was an engaging. Like that's why I say the first. If they would have carried the momentum of the first third of the movie through the other 2/3, it probably would have easily been a 5 or maybe even 6 for me. I probably wouldn't have gone much higher because I'm still not the bloody gore kind of guy who I'm not into that. But yeah, I liked that. Like that was cool. Like watching these guys like know that they're about to lose control of the prisoners, and so their honor code in their society is to kill themselves for honor reasons. And it's like, oh wow, and this one guy's obviously like and then you see the blast off, which by the way, that's not how nukes work. I'm sorry. I no. It's not just a white flash and then you got like 30 seconds to get to shelter. No, I'm sorry.
It's pretty quick. They gave Logan enough time to get up, get Yashida, and then get him in the hole. Even so, It kind of blasts him into the hole, and then of course the very funny scene of Logan trying to protect Yashida with some metal door or whatever, which should probably be melding into him with the heat and nuclear intensity of a nuclear bomb exploding not too far away. But
yeah,
it was a pretty good like cinematic moment.
Totally.
Right?
And I loved
Wolverine kind of showing that he's a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it started close up on Yu-Gi-Oh's face, and you could see like the slit in the metal and the radiation burn where the it wasn't in the shade. And it was like, oh wow. And then it turns around to Logan, and Logan's just like charred. And you're just like, oh crap. And then I'm like, oh yeah, he has healing powers. Okay, let's see how they pull this one off. And then he's just like, Aah! And then he's all better. And Yu-Gi-Oh's just sitting there like,
Yashida.
Oh,
yeah.
Yashida. Yashida? Yeah.
Yashida. Is it Yashida?
I
think there's a lot of names in which I got really good.
I'm normally pretty good about names. Sometimes. But I was trying my best to like track everything, but there were so many characters, and I started this movie at like 11:30 at night, so it was a little late for me. So anyway, but yeah, the guy who ends up being the villain. Yashida.
How'd you like the Return of the Bone Claws? I guess you saw him at the beginning of X-Men Origins.
Yeah, we skipped to the end or at the
Metal
beginning
Claws.
because they happened at both times.
Yeah, so that was the thing. It didn't just appear once.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared twice in this movie. You get the initial Bone Claws because it was before Weapon X happened with Stryker. And then when, I guess, spoilers, by the way. I guess we've already kind of spoiled a bit, but I guess we'll skip to the end a little bit. But yeah, the Bone Claws come back at the end because for some reason, the Silver Samurai, I'll just call it the Silver Samurai at that point,
I like that.
cuts both pairs of bone claws off.
Yep. Or bone claws or
not bone claws, sorry. Metal claws, and then somehow the bone claws come back, I guess, because of the healing factor.
I guess. I mean, that healing factor seems to be like such a lazy writing way out. Like, let's have the drama and stakes be even higher. What can we do? We can have him lose his claws. But how does he succeed? He can get his bone claws back. Yeah. No.
I mean, it's not far from his character, right?
No, it's
because they
not.
wnot. Write him as this
healing
factor beast.
Yep.
Who is able to recover from any blow. In which the scene with not Noburo, because he's the city council dude, Shinjin, the father of Mariko, the samurai dude. I think that fight scene is probably one of my favorite because Shinjin is, you can definitely tell from the movie, a very well-seasoned swordsman with katanas and is giving his all against Logan. And Logan just, I mean, he gives a crap, but at the same time, like, you have katanas going into him. He's kind of just like, okay, I'm just going to stab you now.
Yeah. What did you think of the multi layers of villains going on here? Because that's another thing that I don't necessarily like. When it's played off well, I don't mind it, but it's very hard, in my opinion, for a movie to have shuffle multiple villains around. Like MCU, they might have some villains, but like everything points back to Thanos, right? Like, okay, like Thanos is the big bad guy. They had like 3 or 4 kind of like bad guys here, and it was kind of confusing.
I wouldn't really say bad guys. It's more of agenda, right? Because we first kind of have the hint of the big bad guy being Yashida, the old guy. But then we, of course, kind of see some of that bad guy with Shinjin kind of being like, who's this outsider? It's very, I don't see it as villains necessarily. I see it more as kind of like the outlaw coming to the local town, right? He comes into town and everyone's giving him shifty eyes. Like, who are you? You've never been here before. We don't trust you. Get out. You get multiple people calling him Gajin, I think, which I guess means outsider and or some other derogatory term. But you've got these people who have their own agendas as well. Like Shinjin, who is kind of just like, I tried my best with my father. My father doesn't like me or accept me. I'm going to do what's right for me and my family, or at least myself. A lot of selfish things as well, because then you get the discount Hawkeye dude, Harada. I call him discount Hawkeye dude because he's got that big scene kind of near the beginning of, or like maybe the end of the first act of the movie, where he's kind of doing the whole on the roof with the
he doesn't miss once,
crossbow,
and it's
the
just
bow and
like,
and
then like in the climax time, he misses like 4 times, and it's like,
you're not Hawkeye. But yeah, I mean, he's got his own agenda as well, right? He more serves, was it the Black Clan, which is Yashida's clan that he kind of has. And Yashida instilled the Viper Lady, who's also, okay. I kind of see your point. There's a lot of villains here.
And okay, and I shouldn't say like villains like stroking a cat with like a suit and, you know, the vampire teeth.
I think like, Viper's definitely a villain, though.
Yeah. She is the villain. Like, I knew she was as soon as when was the first reveal that we got she was evil? Because obviously she was the blonde doctor before.
I mean, she was kind of giving a, oh, please, whatever, like being the doctor, being like, okay, you have 5 minutes, man. Go talk to this man, and I have to be back.
Yeah. Anyway, whenever we got the first, like, she's actually Snake Lady, I can't remember if that was one of the scenes where she was holding up one of the gangster guys, or if it was when she was sticking the tiny little crawly thing in his chest or whatever. But whenever we noticed that she had like snake powers, I was like, oh, she's gonna be she's the big boss, right? Like, she's the other mutant. In my pretty limited experience with this franchise, It always seems like the mutants have a battle, and then the mutants versus the humans. These kind of seem to be two kind of directions that they play, and I think it's fine. It's kind of fun to do that because you can have two different. Your good guys fight against two different kind of evil or antagonistic forces, and so I knew that she was going to be the at least leader. I was thinking there might be other mutants because I was kind of interested to see that, but it was just
there wasn't that many not that many mutants in this movie, right?
Is the red hair girl mutant?
Viper, the doctor lady? I would argue that she is because she has some future power, in which I kind of want to discuss with you as well. She hints at Logan's death.
I know,
right?
Yeah,
in which she doesn't accurately depict necessarily in terms. I mean, there's her description of there's a heart in your hand and it stops beating, in which he doesn't pull out his heart. He pulls out a nanobot and then kind of dies for a little bit, but then gets restarted. But he doesn't pull out his heart, or he's not holding his heart in his hand. So is her prediction wrong and she's just a bad mutant at looking at the future, even though she's kind of proven that she's seen the future before? Or is she predicting something in the future? I guess this is kind of getting to our Talos of Movie Review third act type of stuff of what do you think the sequel will be for this movie, or what will be like, in which I'd say the sequel for this movie is actually...
Is there one?
The movie that we'll look at next.
Oh, no.
It's not Logan, it's Days of Future Past in terms of chronological stuff, because we get the end credit scene. If you didn't see the end credit scene, I did. The two old men,
and that was half of. I was like, oh, glad I stuck around for this.
But yeah, I mean, I think what I want to highlight is maybe pay attention to that moment where Mariko is saying, or not Mariko, Yukio is saying, "I saw you on your back, holding your heart." Okay. Maybe just hold that in the back of your mind, just for you, Nick, and then also maybe for some of our listeners as well, because I that might come back.
Just watching that, I thought it was kind of fulfilled. Like, I was like, oh, that makes a lot. Because even today I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like, she saw him die, and he seemed pretty dead, and he had his hand in his chest, like that's pretty close, and his hand was all bloody, and it was just kind of like hanging out there, and I was like trying not to pass out as I was sitting there watching the movie, but I didn't pass out, and I didn't fall asleep, so I think I did a pretty good job. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess time will tell, but I kind of felt like she did predict the future at least, but then like his healing factor, which is infinitely powered somehow, I thought he died, and then his healing power reversed it somehow or something, now that the nanobot thing wasn't in it. So
I think that's correct, right? Because he got the nanobot whatever out of his heart, and then it kind of restarted, like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah. What was that nanobot supposed to be doing? I was kind of confused with that, because the lady had the spit, and then she had the smoke stuff, and then she had some powder and juices, and she also had these little nanobots. Do we know more about her character? What's going on with her?
So I don't know necessarily. I mean, she's Viper. She's definitely from the comics, but I think the nanobots were a product of the Black Clan, or at least, what's it called? Yashida's invention, right? Because we can't see at the very beginning.
Yeah, he has to.
Logan's coming into Japan. Yashida's done everything. He's got billboards everywhere with his name. He's done tech stuff, like iPhone type of things. Yeah. He's done cars. He's done buildings and all that, and so I guess it stands to reason that he had a robotics company and made these little health bots, but then he used it for his own greed of basically making Logan suffer so that he can get Logan in a vulnerable spot to steal his power, basically. But Logan got to the point where he figured out how to get the bot off of his heart. So I don't know, the main purpose of the bot was to somehow affect his heart and restrict his healing factor, but
we don't know how that works. Okay, cool. So I can be just as confused as
I don't know the biological
else.
stuff. I'm a mechanical engineer. In terms of medical devices, I'm not well versed. So
neither am I. Oh man. Okay, so what did you think about the whole love story thing? I kind of felt like that was way out of left field, and we could have just skipped all past that. I hate it when movies also try to pack this in. It's okay, I get it, skin sells movies, whatever, but it doesn't feel realistic. Logan is kind of taking over this paternal, caring relationship with Mariko and
Mariko.
Mariko, and you know he's protecting her for like literally a third of the movie, and at the end of the second act they're like, oh, let's just sleep together, and then exactly, I'm just like, okay, every movie does this, but like I'm already sick of this movie. It's just painful to watch. Like, why? I don't know.
I was also a little bit confused watching it now, even though I know the whole kind of franchise. I'm just like, why does he do this? I guess like it's some of the guilt, or not, maybe not the guilt, but like kind of the neediness that has been turned into a void from his past relationship with Jean.
Yeah.
Which you never really got to meet Jean necessarily.
No, I was like,
skipped over.
Who's this
X-Men
lady?
1 through
Okay,
3.
whatever. I don't care.
I don't know if you want me to explain.
No,
too much,
I got
but
enough
basically
context. He accidentally killed her, stabbed her, and
Well, didn't accidentally. She was a very powerful mutant,
Oh.
and then ended up falling in line with Magneto's crew, and then started killing a whole bunch of people in San Francisco. And then Logan comes in and stops her. But at the very last second, she kind of gains her sanity back in terms of like, wait, I'm hurting people. You need to kill me. And so it was kind of like Logan was physically killing this woman that he loved or grew a bunch of feelings for over the trilogy. I guess another side tangent / note is that she was either married or in love with Scott Summers, who is Cyclops, the one dude who has the beams coming out of his eyes.
Oh, really?
So the dude that we saw in X-Men Origins, who was in high school.
Really?
That's who she fell in love with. Yeah.
She kind of seemed
the dude
old.
with the laser beam eyes.
She kind of seemed older, and that kid seemed like he was in high school. Well, that's a little weird. Maybe I guess I missed the movie.
So the thing is, X-Men Origins takes place, like,
Okay.
I think in the 80s or something.
cool.
Like, or
All right.
not
All right.
80s,
Okay, that makes sense.
Timeline is very weird in this whole entire series.
Also,
So,
physics
well,
doesn't seem to exist in this movie. A couple times.
No, not that
I don't
either.
remember the specific instance, but I remember for sure one time I was watching and I was like, Mike and I need to bring up physics does not exist in this universe either.
Was it the bullet train scene?
Oh, totally. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, totally.
Because the train's going like I think 300 miles per hour, and they're kind of just hanging out on the top
Yeah,
of it.
just
like,
stab
okay,
the
Wolverine's got his
aluminum
claws
tin
in it.
roof, and that wouldn't cause any alarm bells at all. Holes in the train, big scrapes down the middle. No, don't worry about it. No, we're just gonna
And
keep
then some
going.
random assailants on top of it as well, without bone claws, or not bone claws, metal claws.
Yeah, just knives.
that are trying to kill Logan.
Yeah,
They just have knives, I guess. Yeah,
whatever. I don't know.
A knife can help you on a speeding train going 300 miles an hour. Apparently.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of scenes in this that are a little bit less physics-based. I mean,
Yeah, and it's a movie, so
we kind of harp on physics a lot.
Yeah.
I find in these movie reviews, it's like in Pixar / whatever cartoon movie that we're watching, whether it's Wall-E or something else, or like physics out the window.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate
Physics
it.
out the window.
I appreciate when a director or writing team can integrate physics in a way that makes sense into a movie and still have their interesting story, right? Like, okay, superhero movies are fun to watch, but like in the MCU, I think most stuff kind of works with physics. I think some of Tony Stark's stuff is probably the furthest out there, but for them...
Or Captain America's shield.
okay, yeah, all right, I shouldn't say that.
Always bounces
yeah,
back.
it always bounces back, huh?
Or
All right,
Hawkeye
I
always getting
I
every
take
single
that
shot.
back.
I mean,
I take
you
that
could chalk
back.
up to him being really good at shooting arrows, but
Yeah, that's true.
some of the trick shots they make are a little bit out of the realm of physics, but whatever. Anyways, yeah. X-Men is also a subject to bad physics in that case, with either being... Oh, goodness. There's a bunch of scenes, but one that kind of struck out to me was like conveniently the shred of building at the end of the movie when he's fighting Silver Samurai hangs on to the building, and then Silver Samurai ends up like drilling into his arms or whatever. And it's like, yeah, he's not like pulling him apart. Yeah, that was also heebie-jeebie type of stuff. I just want to say, Nick, it's going to be pretty fun when we eventually review Deadpool, because if you think this is bad, Deadpool is dialed to probably 12 or 13 out of 10.
Hey, I'm gonna do it because I'm here for the good content, but
I think Deadpool is definitely the icing on the cake. But I think this definitely paved the way for Deadpool in terms of Wolverine, with a lot of the scenes in here. I mean, there's a lot of dry comedy that they put in here, but they also put a lot of great set pieces and screenplay and choreography. The choreography in this is fantastic. It's something that I noted, I think, in like maybe 5 different scenes. I'm like, wow, like especially the fight with Shinjin. The fight with Shinjin, I'm like, this is fantastic.
100%.
Like very much like I think respecting the art of fighting like a samurai. Maybe I mean I'm not an expert in it, but it seemed like he was very much taking stances and moves that
it was very graceful and measured. Like
yeah, it wasn't necessarily like hack.
Yeah,
hack.
it wasn't just like a. It wasn't General Grievous. It was someone with some panaz.
It wasn't Deadpool and X-Men Origins with the whole spinning blades going like a helicopter. Just like, what am I watching?
That was about the whole third act here. Like, I was just sitting there like, what am I doing watching this? Like, I am so done here. Like, can we just skip it? But I didn't skip to the end. I wanted to have a good review. So I sat there for 3 hours. Because normally I don't tap. Like, normally I don't get bored enough in a movie. Like, if it's a movie that I like, I don't, like, get bored and tap to see, like, how much longer we got left. But, like, in the middle of Act 2, I tapped thinking, like, we were kind of getting close to the end. And it wasn't even halfway. And I was just like... help me. Yeah, whatever. I guess it was fine. So what about the whole plot line here? So basically, I think we've talked a lot about this movie, not really mentioned the big plot point, but Logan is hiding from his problems in Alaska, and red hair girl who works for who was that?
You're talking about Yukio.
Yukio works for what's the guy's name?
Yashida?
The old
Yashida,
guy? Yeah, the old guy. Yeah, Yashida, sorry. And Yashida's deal is he's the billionaire and he wants to live forever, basically, so he wants to steal Logan's healing factor. Also, they used to be friends a long time ago. And then the son, Shinjin, is not given the company when the dad dies, and I think it's kind of hinted that the son killed the dad, which I didn't buy from the very beginning. Like, no, that's not happening. And then we have this really weird funeral scene. Like, the tension in that funeral scene is real. Like, that's palpable. Like, that was the first act. I was still pretty into it. It's like, okay, I can get on board with this scene. Like, Logan's like, something doesn't feel right. And everyone just keeps going on with the little funeral. And it's like, there's something wrong. What is it? I don't know. And then he sees I get tattooed. And I'm like, I don't really know. Do monks normally have tattoos? I don't really know enough about monks.
Nope.
I guess not. But I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. What's going on here?
They do not.
Yeah, okay.
If you're a monk and have a tattoo, then you're not a monk.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. So anyway,
that's just the answer.
You're not confused. Okay. Yeah, but then they go on this like epic long chase scene, like goes all across of Tokyo, and I do want to point out like good on the production team for like making this feel genuine. Like, it again didn't feel like it was in some back studio lot or something in Hollywood. Like, I felt like I was in Tokyo. I've never been there, but like it felt real. They weren't like a lot of movies will like purposely move the camera in a way that they can get away with using like an American city street and just have like some Japanese ads in some windows and just like be very focused on it. But I feel like the camera panned around quite a bit during all of these chase scenes, kind of made you feel like you were in Tokyo, which is kind of cool. But they're all after this girl, and what's her deal?
Mariko, so she is the granddaughter of Yashida, and basically, I guess either in her will or I think it's a way of the what is it? The Yakuza, who are an actual gang / like bad group of people in Japan.
Yikes.
They're not fake. They're real people. They serve a purpose in this. It's not the actual Yakuza in this movie, but
okay.
The Yakuza are trying to steal / murder Mariko, and I believe
on Shinjin's orders, though, right?
I think it was on Shinjin's orders. He was going to kill his daughter, so that way, I think it fell to him because I think Yashida had it fall to Mariko in terms of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that was the whole reason why they were trying to get Mariko, and or it's a hostage. So you either have a hostage or you've got the...
Well, they kind of played her as both. They wanted Logan, right? So
the head of the family.
Yeah, they kind of played her as a hostage a little bit too, because Snake Lady wanted Logan, and so did Yashida. But I don't know. Yeah, it was really weird to be like, oh, Dad wants to kill the daughter. That's just like, how bad does your family dynamics have to go to have like this happen? Yikes!
I mean, at the end, it's understandable, right? Mariko seems very cold at the end. She's very much not really too emotional, besides the last kiss with Logan before he boards the plane. But she's very cold, very like, I have no emotion. I need to run this company. But it's all because like her family kind of screwed her, right? Yeah. Like her dad's like, I'm gonna have you killed, and then her fiance's like, I don't give a crap about you. And then her grandpa's just like, I don't care. I'm gonna kill everyone. I want to live forever. And the only positive person in her life is Yukio, and Yukio's not with her a lot this whole entire movie. No. Yukio's busy with Logan or trying to save Mariko in some specific way, but not directly with her. So she's very much alone in this whole entire movie, which is... It makes it very human in a way. Like, you could definitely envision yourself as Mariko in terms of, like, I don't know, just the sadness, right? The loss. And then, I guess being hunted down, maybe not really, but
yeah.
At least there's some human element in this, and it's very much grounded. It seemed like this whole movie, it grounds you to the pavement. It's not like, okay, then Iron Man comes in, flies in, grabs Spider-Man, and then they go across the globe and then shoot some energy blasts at the enemy. No, it's very much like, you run across the courtyard, you get to the weird hotel that has boxes in it, and then in those boxes are very specific weird love rooms where you've got Mission to Mars, or I forget the rest of the love rooms, but I thought it was just like, it was pretty funny because it's very much Japanese culture in terms of like, it's a love hotel. And then you could just get Mission to Mars, a rotating, like everything's rotating. You're like, who would want to? First of all, I mean, practical stuff. Like, who would want to be on this bed while it's spinning? That sounds terrible for motion sick people. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
But anyways, it's very much. I think that's what I appreciate most about this movie. Is it's not trying to be extraterrestrial or like very flashy. It's very much kind of grounded in reality, right? You have maybe some dude who's got superhero powers, but you have some old dude who wants to live forever and develops some tech to try to live forever, and then a whole bunch of his lackeys, and you have a whole bunch of ninjas, which who doesn't like ninjas?
Of course.
I guess.
I mean, I was down for each one of the individual boss fights. Like, I didn't mind like any one of them just as the boss fight itself. Like, they were fine, but like I knew it wasn't the end, and I'm just sitting there like, I've been ready for this movie to be over for an hour now, and we're still doing this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I really like the ninja fight scene. I thought that was pretty fun with like the 30 or 40 ninjas all in black trying to get Logan, and I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cool.
And conveniently, that's when it gets really gory, because then Yukio gets a shredder, like a snowplow, and then starts shredding ninjas, which, watching it back, I'm like, I don't remember this in the movie. Wow, this is very gory.
Yeah. I have operated many a snowplow for many a year in mine. That is not how snowplows would do you. You'd come out in chunks, not liquids. Sorry. I know we talk about liquefied squirrels a lot on the Ann Sweeney live show, but you wouldn't be liquefied via a snowplow. You'd be chunked.
I'm loving that we're plugging every single show that you're involved in, Nick. It's fantastic.
Have you heard of the Tailosive Tech podcast? This is a podcast that you may not have heard of.
This podcast is brought to you by another podcast.
The Tailosive Movies podcast.
You like
brought
Logan?
to you by the
You like
Tailosive
talking about nanite tech that's attached to your heart? Come to the Tailosive podcast, where we rant about Apple and the new iMac.
Subscribe today for 30% off your first month with promo code GORE.
Of what? Like Gore. I would say X-Men or Logan, but sure, Gore, why not?
Don't try that. We don't have
That's
anything set up. This is just a joke.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, jeez.
See,
yeah, there's...
What else do you have to talk about this? I'm kind of out of my big major gripes. I think I've winded about those long enough.
So I guess a few questions that I had, which maybe I kind of want to pick your brain on. Maybe not. I'm not too sure.
No,
I'm
you
not there
don't.
yet. Maybe not. But there's a few plot holes in this movie that I
Ooh.
noticed. One especially is the return of Xavier at the end.
Okay.
Because I guess
Yeah. All right. Let's talk
I
about
guess you
this.
don't know this.
What is going on? He's not
What
the
is
same
going-
actor
So let
anymore.
me-
I am so confused. Same chair, different actor.
So we're back with Sir Patrick Stewart. He is a sir. He was knighted by the Queen,
Wow.
which is pretty cool.
That's fancy.
I'm not too sure if I don't think he's on the. Oh goodness, what's his name? The guy who plays. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. I'm sorry, guys. I forget who plays Magneto. It's not Alec Guinness. It's someone else.
That is
Anyways,
not Alec Guinness.
So to set up the scene, at the end
Hello there.
during X-Men 3, I guess to catch you up, Nick. During X-Men 3, Jean Grey, the red-haired lady, not Yukio, but Jean Grey, the one that Logan keeps on seeing in his dreams, kills Xavier. She literally explodes him and disintegrates him, and then joins Magneto.
Okay.
And so then he's dead, but then he reappears at the end of this movie. And so he kind of gives the offhanded comment of surprises always happen or something like that. I forget the specific words he chooses. I guess he's just an ultra powerful mutant in terms of being able to die and then put his memory into someone else. And then that person's body just morphs into his body. I'm not too sure. But he comes back. He died. And then Magneto is very much buddy-buddy with Xavier again for some reason. Because last you saw them, they literally just had a fight. We literally just saw Xavier get crippled.
Yeah. That was the last time
And
I saw him.
Magneto's like, I'm going to start my own team. See you later.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's just like, oh, hi, I'm back. I'm also old, and we need to team up because there's dark forces.
Interesting.
And then you're like, dark forces? And then also you don't get like any beeps from the X-ray machine for Logan, I think.
Huh.
Which is strange, though, I guess.
Yeah. I think
You would think, okay.
I thought like everything was like shaking or something, and I thought it was going to be Magneto. When I saw like the keys were shaking, and I was like, and he was going through the metal detector, and it was going funky. I was like, oh, it's going to be Magneto. What's going on? And then it was some guy that I had never seen before in like a bowling cap or something, and I was like,
which is
hello,
Magneto.
who are you? Oh, was that Magneto? That was Magneto.
That was Magneto, yeah.
Wait, I thought
That was Magneto. I'm sorry.
I am so
So the guy with the hat is Magneto.
Okay.
And then the guy in the
He didn't look
wheelchair,
like
of course, is
Magneto.
Xavier.
Okay.
No, because he's older. This is
Okay. All right. This is completely
goodness,
different.
I forget
actor.
what year.
Okay.
Completely. I forget. I don't know when this takes place. It takes place 2 years after the events of X-Men Wolverine, which I forget what year that takes place in. I guess if you want to go by actual year, it was maybe 2015 is when this airport scene happened. I don't know. But yeah, so it's kind of setting up for the next movie that we'll get to, in which you can tell that things are dire when the good guy and the bad guy team up together. And I guess the good guy
Interesting.
comes back from the dead to team up with the bad guy. And then
Wow.
they get Logan, who famously told both of them to
F off.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Interesting.
that's kind of where Wolverine leaves us, right? Is where Xavier and Magneto are teaming up with Wolverine to fight something. We also get a little product plug as well. We get Trask Industries product plugged on the TV.
I was trying
in
to
that
figure out
airport as
because
well.
it lingered on that Trask Industries, and I had no idea what that is. It's like, wouldn't it make more sense to have it the rich dad guys stuff? Like, I was kind of confused with that, but I guess it's a
So they'll explore that in the next movie that we
Okay,
watch.
cool,
So you'll
cool.
you'll understand
Alright.
what.
See, that's
Trask
what I love
Industries
about watching this new franchise from Fresh. I'm just like, what's going on? And you're just like, don't worry, you'll see later. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I just go along my happy little day. It's great. I love it.
Except for this one, because this one is very much building off of the trilogy that we didn't cover, in which I definitely didn't want to cover, because if you thought Wolverine was bad, these would also be around too as well. I would argue.
Okay. Well,
just
thank
with
you.
the acting and the the action and the CGI and the motives, it's all over the place. And I would think this one definitely ranks above those, which is why I was maybe a little bit surprised by your ranking of 2 out of 8.
Yikes.
But at the same time, it kind of makes sense with you only watching, I think, 3 X-Men movies at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of just like, this is the worst out of the other 2. I mean, X-Men Origins was bad, but at least I could follow it, and it was flashy and yay, superhero movie. Where this one's very much like lingers on forever.
Yeah.
A few boss fight scenes. Very much kind of like a Japanese, not thriller, but action movie in terms of not too much flashy, showy bits, but more about the tension that it builds, which I appreciate in this movie. I love the tension that they build, even all the way to the point where Logan has 40 arrows in his back.
I know. I don't mind tension for a purpose, but when it's just tension for tension's sake, and like, I know that there has to be the big boss fight with it. That was the biggest mistake of this movie. Like, they hyped this lady with the snake thing to be like this big evil lady, and like, I knew that this was going to be the boss fight. Oh my gosh. Oh, malting or whatever they call it. Oh, it's like, okay.
I mean, it got a visceral reaction at you, right? A lot of these scenes in this movie got a visceral reaction with Hugh Jackman carving a hole in his chest to take out a robot.
Yeah, that was
this
bad.
lady taking off her skin.
Yeah. Not nearly as bad as Tim taking off the skin. Tim Cook taking off the skin in that Apple event a couple days ago. That was pretty much the worst.
We are just crossing all.
We're all over the place. This is my last show of the week. Oh no, it's not. I guess I got shows tomorrow, but anyway, those will be fun. I mean, like, my week kind of starts on Saturday. Anyway, yeah. Hey, it's Friday night. I can cry if I want to. Hey, okay. So we had too much climax down, in my opinion, and because like I don't know.
I guess my question for you, Nick, is what would make this movie better then? What would upgrade your point scale from a 2 out of 8 to like a 4 out of 8?
Okay, 4 out of 8. All right.
What would make it better? Like, what would make it better?
I don't think that the gore stuff should go away. I realize that this is something that I don't have a preference for, and so I think it should definitely stay, but unfortunately it's never going to rate up there with Wall-E because of that. So I'm not mad about that. I'll discount all of the gore-related issues that I've had with this movie.
They get creative with it later.
Okay. I would hope so, because I'm going to need to find other ways to be squeamish now that I'm used to having people cut their skin off with their nail. Ugh. Anyway.
That was a bad one.
I think really it was just kind of all it felt like it was Star Wars Episode 8. I know we haven't officially reviewed this on this channel yet, but I think we've talked about this plot problem enough, and I think this movie is a great example of it, where the heroes have to do something to do something to do something to get someone to do something to do something. And it's just kind of like, okay, and it just kind of drags on, and you already know what the next point's going to be, because you know the good guy's going to win, and you're waiting for the big boss fight at the end, and so it's just kind of all like entertainment at that point. And I don't ever feel really engaged with those kinds of stories. So I think for the sake of this movie, if they could have retooled the timeline a little bit, and maybe split this into 2 movies, and had like I don't know, scene where his, heart, he gets the thingy out of his heart, but before the samurai fight, like maybe cut the movie there, and you'd have to adjust the timeline a little bit, maybe shuffle some stuff around, but they could totally do that, and then it'd almost
be like an Infinity War moment, right?
Yeah.
All the heroes are gone.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, you can show that he lived, but like maybe, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, do whatever you want, but just let each one of these 3, because there were 3 really powerful scenes that really competing for that, end of movie climax moment. And obviously it was the one at the very end, even after Snake Lady, like the actual climax didn't happen until after Snake Lady. It was like during the bone extraction, whatever. Gets me squeamish. Like that was the actual climax. So maybe there were like 4 climaxes trying to be in competition here, but I feel like they just didn't have enough room to breathe. And the movie was already like almost 3 hours long. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. It was a long one. And so if they would have just said, okay, This is a decent story. I didn't mind the story. It just meandered a little bit too much. So if they could like condense like Act 2 down and then give Act 3 room to breathe via each of its own different movies, and maybe just two different like duopolies or whatever, that might be kind of nice. But I think that's probably the biggest thing. I didn't mind the animation, the acting, all that stuff was fine. But I think that was probably the biggest problem for me. There were just too many high energy scenes, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm done with it. Movie over.
Yeah, it could have been a factor of the fact that they have so much tension that they build. They have to release it somewhere, and so they release it with the samurai scene going against Shinjin, and then going against the Viper Lady because they kind of hyped her up as this villain who can. Mm-hmm. Also, another visceral scene that you probably maybe were squeamish at. She licks a pen and then jabs it into the samurai guy. Like, ugh. Like, holy cow. I mean, it wasn't like blood everywhere, but it was just like, oh my goodness, she just jammed a pen in this guy's neck. But what was I getting at? Yeah. I guess also another thing that kind of went over my head multiple times when I watched this in the past, but watching it this time, it definitely was on the forefront because I'm kind of thinking your experience as well with this whole universe, like, oh, what questions is he going to have in the podcast, or what do I have to explain in the next podcast potentially? But it's the fact that, like, Yashida takes the healing factor from Wolverine, right? Because we have the whole scene of Yashida getting younger, which is kind of strange, but okay, I guess he gets younger from the healing factor. But then Wolverine kills him, throws him down a mountain, in which then, why are they not going to extract like the vibranium and use it for something else, or are they just going to leave their dead grandpa on the side of the hill or something? I don't know. But then, like, does Wolverine not have a healing factor, or does he?
I know, yeah.
In which they kind of hint that he does.
It's a good point.
Still,
it's a very good point. It's kind of squishy.
And then he also loses the metal claws, right? He has bone claws again.
When did those come back? Like, I was kind of waiting for the next one to solve that problem. But, like, do they grow back as metal later?
Does he get the metal claws, or does he just stay with bone? Yeah, that's the question, in which I'm not going to spoil it for
Please
you.
don't. Please don't.
But, yeah, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, those questions at the very end, I'm just like, this was a interesting idea and spectacle. But in terms of, like, looking at the whole series, in which I guess you can't really fault on the whole series because maybe it was directed by different directors, different ideas. It's kind of like like you said, the whole Star Wars thing, right? You have, I was about to say James Gunn, but it's not James Gunn. You have Ryan Johnson in the middle of this. I forget the other director who did episode 7 and 9. J.J. Abrams, thank you.
And so the minor director in Hollywood right now. Just J.J.
You got like the sandwich ends of JJ, but you've got the Ryan Johnson in the middle, and the Ryan Johnson's not really agreeing with the JJ. And it kind of feels the same, at least with this movie, right? Because we see Logan kind of like at his maybe strongest at the end of Origins in terms of like being able to take on a super mutant that is Deadpool, at least in that movie, of some dude who's hyped up with all these different mutant genes. And then we get this guy who's kind of just like, I'm a broken person. I mean, which kind of makes sense if you watch X-Men 1 through 3. But it's still it feels a little bit disjointed because this is technically the Wolverine trilogy or the Logan trilogy. So you have Origins, the Wolverine, and then Logan. And so you're kind of just like, okay, there's hopefully some like consistency through this, in which I guess the consistency is a very angry healing factor man. But, yeah, this definitely kind of feels maybe a little bit like The Odd Duck.
Okay.
I mean, one would argue that X-Men Origins is definitely The Odd Duck in terms of what the heck did I just watch? But in this, you understand what you watched, but you're like, was this satisfactory in the end? Or was this just more of a tale that was being told without much payoff, right? You don't really get the payoff at the end. You get Logan going on a plane, which he doesn't like planes.
Yeah.
And then you get Yukio like, where do you want to go? And he's just like, just take us up. I don't care.
Go somewhere.
Which, that's not how planes work.
Yeah.
You don't just tell the pilot
This is
go
extremely
up.
true. This is so incredibly extremely true.
Give me vectors. Where are we going? Point A,
you
point
need
B.
to have a
What's the
flight plan
path?
in line. You have to have your fuel in order. Yeah, there's tons of stuff to do. You have to traveling
check this out.
internationally. You have to file extra paperwork and immigration forms, and yeah, no, that's not how that works, Logan. But okay. What probably happened, I was thinking of this while I was waiting for the end credit scene. I was like, oh, they probably took off. The pilot circled around for 3 or 4 hours as Logan decided. And then after he decided, like, okay, cool, we just need to land for gas now. And then they land again and then figure out where they're going.
Instead, they're like, nah, it's 2 years later. Also, Yukio's not here anymore.
And
We
you're
just
still at
ditched
an
her.
airport, though.
It's just a Logan alone. Yeah, why was he on a plane, like, at a commercial airport and then got off? Like, where was he going? Was he just coming back to America? There's a lot of questions that they open up at the end, which I guess is good if you're kind of setting up the next movie. But I guess, to be frank, they don't answer a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
I guess one sad thing is we never revisit Yukio and Mariko ever again.
Oh, really?
We don't see these characters ever
that
again.
sucks. Man.
We get... I will give you the... I guess I'll spoil you a little bit. They do it, maybe not necessarily name drop, but they do hint at Mariko in one of the movies that we watch in the future. But we never see these characters ever again, which makes me sad because these characters are interesting to me.
Yeah.
I like the scarred person that Mariko kind of becomes from her family, or Yukio, who's kind of become this great ally to Logan, and has this very interesting future sensing power that we just never look into later, or just anything else in that side of the world. We don't really revisit Japan, which I think this movie was great in like immersing yourself in a bit of Japan. There's only so much culture that they can inject into this movie, but it was fun.
Totally.
But I don't know, it makes me want more after watching this. I wish they made a Wolverine 2, at least like what happened during those 2 years with Yukio. Like, what did Logan and Yukio do? Did they go off to, I don't know, did they go off to Russia? Or did they go back to America and do something? Like, what happened? Let me know. I'm very interested in these characters.
100%.
I guess that's my annoyance with this movie, is it's a bit of wasted potential. We get maybe some... I think this movie serves... Sorry, I'm ranting a lot.
Go ahead.
I think this movie serves as kind of bringing Logan back to life. Because X-Men 3 very much kind of killed him at the end in terms of, like, I'm done. Except they didn't really hint that at the end. But at least in this movie, they're like, oh, he's done. And then kind of at the end, he's like, okay, I guess I'm back in the game. So I guess it serves as that. But I don't know. That's at least my point of view from this movie. Is there's so much potential that they built up, and they didn't do anything with it. At least from how I envision the whole series.
That's a shame. Well, I would say I'm just looking forward to seeing the rest of the franchise here, and I understand we skipped over a trilogy, so I'm not necessarily picking apart everything here. Like, how does this fit? What is this? I'm not really looking for plot holes at this point. I'm just kind of like, who's the character? Okay, what can they do? You know, just like the basics, and it's kind of fun to be able to do this. And I've really enjoyed this, Mike. Thank you so much for putting all this effort into finding the right ones to watch and in the right order and being able to do this every week. It's been fun to experience this whole new franchise for the first time, and probably, to be completely honest, the only time. But hey, never say never. Just not my cup of tea. But I'm glad we're doing it. This has been lots of fun.
Yeah, I mean we're basically at the halfway point almost. I think we've got maybe one more movie, and then we're halfway through kind of the path that we're taking for, or at least I've chosen for this X-Men universe. But I think from now on, it's going to be more exciting movies. I don't think you're really going to give the next movie a 2, because I think the next movie is my favorite X-Men movie out of the whole lot of them. Maybe tied with Logan. I think Logan's a really great piece, but I think Days, I guess I'll just spoil it. Days of Future Past, fantastic movie. I enjoy it. You'll definitely get the scoop from me in the next episode, or not next episode, I guess, but the next X-Men movie that we review at whatever week that we review it. Definitely one of my favorite. It explores the characters perfectly, in my opinion, and I mean, we'll save that for the next podcast.
Okay.
So I guess what I want to say is, what are you looking forward to in the next movie then, Nick, in terms of exploring characters? Or
well,
at least just in general.
let me be clear about this. Is this picking up after the end scene? Like the end credits scene?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm really still confused about Professor X and what his whole deal is, because now this will be the third time that I've seen him on the silver screen. Once for a few minutes in Logan when he was having like migraines or something and the earth was shaking or something crazy. And then obviously back in the last X-Men Origins. Got a good amount of backstory with Professor X, and I appreciated that.
Oh, First Class.
Oh, First Class. I'm sorry. Yeah, First Class.
Origins, we get him for like a second. He's standing outside some random jet in a forest that is very much CGI.
Oh,
yeah. Like, who is this bald man?
Yeah. What is going on here? Yeah. And then obviously this one's just an end credit scene as well. But like, I feel like there's so much hype around this character, and I don't really understand it yet. And obviously in First Class, you know, he's kind of made out to be one of the main characters of, you know, just being able to and then basically do anything, right? And then freeze people, you know, make them go crazy or, you know, whatever. So I'm excited to see more about why Professor X is such the hype. And because I knew about Professor X, you know, that's one of the main things that I knew. I knew about Logan and the knives, and then Professor X in a wheelchair who was bald. Like, that's about all I knew about X-Men before I saw Logan. And even when I saw Logan, I didn't really understand that it was part of the X-Men universe, and I'm still learning it all. But I was aware of Professor X, which tells me that he is probably the best character, one of the best characters of the franchise, like equivalent to an Obi-Wan or something like that. So I'm excited to see what he has to offer and what's going to be happening with him. So that's probably what I'm most excited about in the next one, but we'll see. Is he in the next one?
I think that puts it perfectly in terms of how, like, what boots he kind of fills in this franchise. He's very much the Obi-Wan of the movie, or at least any movie that he's in. He's very much like the use the Force, Luke, or turn off the targeting computer.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. Trust your feelings, Luke. I think that's what the line I'm looking for. He's very much like that, and I think it's probably a beautiful description of him. I never really thought of it like that. I just think of him as the old wise dude in the wheelchair, but definitely a more beautiful picture of Charles Xavier is the person who you kind of look to guide you in this universe, rather than just some crazy. I mean, you saw part of it in Logan, is some crazy old dude.
Yeah, I was quite confused.
But yeah, no. I definitely look forward to this next movie. I don't want to hype it up too much for you and or the viewers who haven't seen it, I guess. If you're watching along with us, I applaud you. It's pretty fun.
Also, what are you doing with your time?
I don't know how you're... Also, yeah, what are you doing with your time? But I thank you if you're watching along with us, or if you're not, I enjoy talking about it and having you guys listen.
So speaking of that, Mike,
it's fun doing this with you, Nick.
Speaking of that, Mike, I wonder if people are watching. I don't want to have like 30 or 50 people watching these every week, which is totally fine. I'm happy that you're here, and I love doing this. But what do you think about telling people the week before what movie we're reviewing next? Because we do have all this in a list so that people can watch ahead and be up to snuff with us. What do you think about that, Mike? I know we haven't talked about that off camera.
Well, how about let's do it this time and see what people think.
Okay.
Do you want to tell people what we are reviewing next week?
Absolutely. This movie that we're going to be reviewing next week is from my favorite...
Breaks my heart.
My favorite movie franchise ever, which, as you know, is Up. From the wonderful Pixar film. We have Up, the lovable story of an old geezer grandpa who had true love. She died, and now he has Russell and a dog. And it's just such a fun story.
Spoilers.
And Kevin. Yeah, spoilers. Oh, I'm so sorry. I spoiled Up. If you haven't seen Up, then I guess this week is your week. Also, bring a tissue box if you have not seen Up, because it's an animated roller coaster. So, yeah, we'll be reviewing Up next week.
All right. Take us out.
All right, I'll take us out. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for X-Men Wolverine 2013. This has been a very fun movie review. Excited to have you along with us. Hopefully you'll join us next week for Up. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one. God bless.
Bye bye.